We are back, episode 10? 11? Episode 10 or 11.
We should write these down.
Weekly segment. My last tweet says episode 9, so this is episode 10.
Okay.
All right, we're officially on episode 10. I already spilled a beer. I'm pretty sure.
That's true.
I'm pretty sure we got that on video. Fortunately,
be in the blooper cut.
It didn't land on the equipment or on Flanabam.
It did not, thankfully.
So that's good to know. We are, as you can tell, just two of us today. Flanny got married on Sunday. Congratulations to the big dog.
Big shout out, my guy.
Big shout out to him. So we have one kayfabe cousin here today. Flanabam, a two-man show.
Two-man show.
Ready for it?
We got this.
And later on this episode, we also get to talk to former WWE referee of over 20 years, legend of the game, Jimmy Korderas joins us today. Great conversation with him, Flanabam. We talk about a lot. We recap some of the Backlash stuff. We talk about his perspective being a referee in events like that.
Yeah.
Which, let's get right into it. WWE Backlash was this past weekend. My God. When I tell you, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that was maybe, outside of live events we've been to where we have a different perspective, maybe the most insane crowd we've ever witnessed on television.
You know what's crazy is it's the biggest competition that I'm remembering, at least, is weirdly enough last year's Backlash in Puerto Rico. Because that crowd was insane as well. That crowd was
insane, but they were insane, and I know that their introduction for Bad Bunny was absolutely bananas.
I genuinely still watch.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I don't even watch the match. I just watch his entrance because it's so fucking insane.
It was so crazy, and the fact that that's like one of the biggest musical artists in the entire planet, and he decided to have a hardcore match, a street fight match in his hometown on a PLE was pretty insane.
And it killed. Like, it was a phenomenal match.
It was incredible.
Like, they crushed it.
Well, he put the work in, he knew what he was doing. But Backlash, the crowd, and Leon Francis.
Sorry, just to backtrack a split second. You know what's bad about people like Bad Bunny and Pat McAfee and Logan Paul is they make me think, I could do that.
Yeah, I could do that.
I can totally do that.
These guys have never did it before.
I mean, look at how great these guys are. Oh, wrestling's totally easy then.
Yeah.
It's not, by the way.
It's not.
It is not easy at all. I can't do it, but it makes me think I can.
Yeah, they call that, what do they call that?
Stupidity.
Yeah.
They call that stupidity.
Masculine, toxic energy or something like that, where it's like you feel like you can do anything because you saw somebody else do it. It's like, I could do that. That looks easy.
Right. But I also think it's the fact that, and all three of them work incredibly hard at it. But the fact that Bad Bunny, Logan Paul, and Pat McAfee all crush it when they get in the ring. It just makes you look at it and go, well, three people can do it. I could totally do it.
Definitely.
No, I can't.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, but there's a reason why they are very, 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 very talented people, and I'd say we're talented, just in different ways. How about that? We're gonna compliment ourselves there.
I almost said body positivity. Personal positivity.
There you go.
Personal positivity.
Personally uplift yourself.
Yeah.
But man, the crowd was insane. I'll speak for myself in saying that was the most insane crowd I've ever seen live, where I got chills multiple times throughout the event. The singing, the chanting, the difference between that and some other raucous crowds that we've seen is that they weren't trying to hijack the show.
No, they were just into it.
They didn't make it about themselves.
Nope.
They were very much invested in the moment. They were obviously very proud and happy to be a part of a big event.
Yeah.
To have a PLE there, and man, it's like if you combined the most insane Raw After Mania crowd with soccer hooligans.
Yeah,
that's what you got.
Yeah.
It was so fun to watch.
They were incredible. And I'm not even disagreeing with you about them being the most insane crowd of all time. I'm just saying the only other one that comes to mind is last year's Backlash. And honestly, this might even be better than last year's Backlash. I'd have to watch them back to back to know for sure.
Yeah.
They were insane. It makes me want to see more events in wrestling-starved countries like that. Give me a show in Spain. Give me a show in Italy. Give me a show in Portugal.
Yeah.
Give me shows in countries that don't get a lot of wrestling events, and I bet we get crowds as close or just like that again.
Well, thankfully for us, we are guaranteed at least 2 more PLEs in Europe.
Yes.
This summer we have Clash of the Castle in Scotland.
Be a great crowd.
And then we're going to be in Germany, which again,
Berlin.
These could easily be right on par. You don't think that these European countries who compete in soccer, right? That's the main sport over there in Europe for all these countries, that they have these bitter rivalries where you go watch them and compete against each other, and the crowds are insane and they travel. You don't think that those crowds are looking at what happened in Lyon, France, and the way people have been reacting to it, and aren't saying to themselves, well, we got to be better than them? Yep. Of course they are.
Absolutely.
Because this is their one shot.
Yep.
This isn't like Providence and Hartford where we know we're going to get 2 shows a year.
Right.
This is their one shot. So, man, that shit was electric.
It was so good.
And it was right from the jump, and it was and SmackDown was the same way. They had
a noise ordinance because of how loud the crowd was at SmackDown.
Insane.
It was 115 decibels, which I think is just 5 decibels lower than a jet engine taking off.
See that? It's just
like, that's insane.
It's just insane. It's so great. And you know what? It's really cool to see that type of reaction, because I feel like, although let's say this is still the Vince era, right? I still think you probably get a crowd similar to that because of like the lack of opportunity that they get. Yeah. But it's just fantastic that we also got the product that we got in the ring, man. These matches, I think, went 5 for 5. You know, we'll talk about one that maybe bordered on being okay. But to start, you had this tag match. I mean, man, right off the rip, when these guys are coming out, the crowd, how insane they were.
They sang Randy Orton's theme. Nobody's done that before for his theme. That I can remember, at least.
Hearing a crowd sing the themes for these superstars coming out, but then also doing chants in French and songs in French, it was so good. But man, this tag match, I think, was very good.
Yes.
The energy was insane. They were all over the map. The split screen was great. I love that you could see action from both sides. Yeah. But yeah, man, I love KO and Randy Orton together.
They are a great
good
team, and I'm sad that that's going to lead to a breakup of some point to be feature match between the two of them. Like, I would love to see them as champs at some point, and I don't think they're gonna continue them as a team that long.
I agree.
I kind of think we're gearing to those two facing each other at SummerSlam is what I think the plan is.
You think that's soon?
I kind of do.
But I think, here's the thing, with so much clutter, and it's a good problem to have, right? Where you have all this talent and you have, you know, these legitimate mid-card, you know, title contenders and also your heavyweight title contenders. You know, do you have room right now for Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, or do you let them just not run the tag team, but be a part of the tag team division for a little bit?
Oh, I absolutely think you could.
We've seen them both make it work.
Oh, yeah. You absolutely could put them together and make them a great tag team and make them champs. I don't get the vibe that that's what they're going for. I get the vibe that they are. I don't know why, but there's something in my head that's telling me they want to make SummerSlam this year as close to Mania as they ever have, as like the number 2, like genuinely like make it a 1A. And I think they want to put as many high-profile matches on that as they can. And Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton is such a high-profile match.
I agree. That a lot would have to happen in the next few months for that. I just feel like they have so many built in, or maybe they're the replacement rivalry for Drew and CM Punk, who, you know, we found out Monday night that Drew is still medically not cleared to wrestle. So those two are just going to have to make it work through their promos for a little while.
Right, which they absolutely
could
do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they have done the past, I don't know, month, 2 months, however long it's been that they've been just promoting each other.
Exactly. So, but yeah, you had the tag match. Great high energy stuff.
Also, such a smart move to turn it into a street fight, because it wasn't pre-announced as a street fight, and turning it into that has made it work so well. And even that, Adam Pearce coming out. Nick Aldis
coming out, and the crowd's pop and reaction to announcing that was so good. It was just it just felt so important, and it wasn't for anything. It was just a tag match. Yeah,
because they were, that rivalry has been very quick developed, but also very quickly turned into almost like a blood feud.
Yeah,
like they got it there quick, which is very impressive.
Big time. And then we had a debut.
Tonga Loa
makes his debut, and which again, this Bloodline storyline. If you were, which I don't think anybody was, but if you were somehow sick of it going into WrestleMania, sorry, it's only going to get crazier from here.
It is.
Which, again, I don't see how you could be sick of it. It is so good. So now, Bloodline wins the match. Tonga Loa makes his debut. This is setting up for what Flanabam predicted, maybe, about a few weeks back now?
2 or 3 weeks, give or take, I think.
With War Games,
Bloodline
War Games, one led by Solo, one led by Roman.
Yeah, I just think the teams I pitched at the time are probably not going to be the teams we get. Because I think I also said put The Rock in there, and I doubt we're getting that.
Yeah. Probably not for a while.
Probably not for a while.
Was he on time for shooting last week?
I don't know. I haven't read reports on that yet.
Because we need to get confirmation.
His movie just started last week, so it's a bad look if you're starting 8 hours late. Allegedly.
It's The Rock.
That's true.
He has different rules than the rest of us. But overall, man, super entertaining match.
Great open.
We could easily say for all these matches, a crowd was into it from start to finish. So I'm not even going to bother saying that. Just assume that was the case.
Yeah.
But awesome match. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and a genuinely shocking day. Like, I think most people, myself very much included, weren't surprised there was a debut. We just all thought it was going to be Jacob Fatu.
Right.
And it wasn't. It was Tongaloa, which I am very glad it was. I'm a big fan of Tongaloa. And I didn't see it coming. And I think most people would say the same thing. They didn't see it coming. And it's rare nowadays you get a shocking debut like that.
Yeah.
The last one I can think of is Punk coming back. Mm-hmm. And then even before that, I'd really have to think on what that one was.
Edge, Royal Rumble.
Yeah, probably.
That's probably the last one. Crazy. Awesome stuff, though. Really enjoyed it. Clearly, they're building towards that. The women's triple threat match for the title was awesome.
Yeah.
Super entertaining. I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm officially on Tiffy time. All right. Tiffany Stratton, I think, is a star.
Yes.
Well on her way. I think that she held her own in that match with two established veterans who also did their thing. They're also 100% building towards the Bayley and Naomi beef, right? They're a little bit too buddy.
I keep saying this, and I'm going to be wrong on probably most of them. I could see that being a SummerSlam match.
You got the whole card right now.
I'm going whole card, 25 matches. Get ready.
25 matches.
Get ready for a 16-hour SummerSlam. It's going to be insane.
Brought to you by Prime.
Prime.
It's just going to be...
Are they an energy drink?
I don't even know what it is. Prime Hydration.
Prime Hydration.
Prime Hydration.
Have you ever tried a Prime?
I have.
How are they?
They're okay. I mean, they're okay. It just tastes... It is what it is.
You're buying the brand, essentially.
You're buying the brand, and he sells it. He knows what he's doing.
But are they... What would you say they're similar to? Drink? Like, are they like a Gatorade almost?
They're like a Gatorade... Just a little bit. I feel like it tastes a little bit more sugary. They're a little sweeter.
Okay.
I think that's what, if I remember correctly, because it's been a while since I only tried it one time.
Right.
My little cousin, who was obsessed with it, was like, "You got to try this," and they like made me go to the corner store to get one for him. But whatever. But yeah.
Would you put them more in line with like a Monster?
No.
Or like a Rockstar?
No. It doesn't taste like an energy drink to me.
Okay.
No. I think they had one, but I don't even know if I think they got banned or something. I don't know.
Right. There was some weird thing about them being banned somewhere.
Yeah, it's more of a hydration. It's more of like a
sweeter
Gatorade.
A sweeter
Gatorade. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's kind of what it reminds me of. But yes, Bayley retains. Tiffany Stratton was awesome.
Yeah.
The whole match was great. A lot of just, good timing for the three of them. We know triple threats aren't always the easiest matches to have because, it's a lot about timing and stuff. Yeah. And I think that they absolutely nailed it.
I agree. I thought it went really, really well. It was, and especially with how good the first one was, I at least was a little concerned about like, ooh, how is this going to go following them? And they crushed it. They absolutely delivered. I completely agree with you. I'm fully on Tiffy time. I very much want her to win Money in the Bank. Because especially, could you imagine like a Barbie-esque Money in the Bank briefcase? That thing will sell so well.
Yep.
So
it'll be exactly. It'll be like a pink Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yep. They'll probably do like the Barbie style Money in the Bank on the briefcase. Maybe have it bedazzled.
Put a watch on it.
Ooh,
for Tiffy time.
I like that.
You never know. Or a clock, a big clock on the back.
She hangs it from her neck, and she's female Flavor Flav.
Okay, I like that. I'm in. I'm all in on Tiffany Stratton being the female Flavor Flav.
I am too.
Sign me the fuck up for that.
Triple H, I know you're watching this. Creative change right now. Tiffy Stratton, female Flavor Flav.
Bang. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. But yeah, she was great. Great match.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that. Then you had the World Heavyweight Championship match, Damian Priest and Jey Uso. Again, the introduction for Jey Uso coming out to that crowd. I don't know how you don't accidentally like just send like super stiff shots in the ring, because I would have so much adrenaline pumping through me that it would be ridiculous.
Though that crowd yeeted all over the place.
Yeah, they were yeeting everywhere.
That was That's like the most insane one. But that also the first time they did it with like the lights.
Yeah.
And which is such a great touch. Mm-hmm. Like that made it so much bigger.
I think they need to continue that.
Yeah.
Like that's something we got to bring over here.
I think that's going to be a thing. I think they're going to try to start going forward with it.
We need to elevate our crowd interaction here, okay? We need to get rid of the what chants. We need to get rid of the CM Punk chants, okay? These are chants that should have been left in, 2005.
Yes. They should have never really been picked up to begin with.
The what chants to me are just, I'm done with them.
The what chants were funny when Steve Austin did it.
20 years ago.
And only when Steve Austin did it. It was never even funny when the crowd did it back then.
I just don't get why there are enough smart wrestling fans out there to know what is interesting and what's funny and what's not.
Yeah.
The people that do the what chant still are so self-serving and annoying that you just ruin not only the live experience but also the on TV experience. Like we don't want to hear that shit. Shut the fuck up. We want to listen to the professionals do their job. If you're bored, go get a popcorn, go get a beer. Get the hell out of the arena. That's what I got to say to you.
If you're bored, check, some score updates on your phone or something. Do something else. People who do the what chants clearly feel like I'm the reason people are watching the show. I'm the one that's important. And you're not.
This is what.
You're absolutely not.
When it was a CM Punk that said, I bought your house, like he had fans telling them they bought his house for him.
Yeah, I think so.
Wasn't it? I think that was from just self-serving. Just get the hell out of here, okay? Yeah. Nobody likes you. Stop chanting the dumb shit.
Because here's the thing. The rest of the crowd that you're ruining it for, they spent more than likely the same amount of money you did. Or at least the people in your row did. So
exactly.
You ruin it for everybody.
Exactly. So... but yeah, no surprise. Damian retains. Good match. Interference from the Judgment Day. But Damian Priest, here's what we're building towards now. Not happy.
Yeah.
Wasn't happy with that. Clearly, they're starting to split from the Judgment Day. I'm curious to see how long they drag it out because even on Monday Night Raw, like with this apology that he gave them, seemed very forced.
Yes.
Didn't seem like he wanted to do it.
No.
Seems like there's still a lot of fractures in that relationship.
That apology on Monday felt like a certain injured superstar made a phone call and was like, you gotta straighten some stuff out.
Yeah.
That's how it came across.
I agree with that.
So I really like what they're doing, and I like that they're slow building it. They're not just rushing the breakup. They're giving it time to play out and just be a natural breakup. There's nothing worse than when they do it too quickly and then you're like, all right, well, now what?
Yeah.
They're letting it play out.
They're letting it play out. And as you should, because you just lost, you didn't lose, but you had a big change in one of your other major factions with the Bloodline. Yeah. So you can't also then lose a Judgment Day. Obviously, Rhea's injury has made them kind of have to change up a little bit with what they're doing with the Judgment Day. But, it's good that they're taking their time with it as well. But regardless, Jay, some good false finishes there.
Yeah. It was a really good match.
Close a couple times.
There were
JD McDonough's big ass head.
Like, oh wow, they're really gonna have Jay win?
Yeah, no, same. So, there was a few. It was more than a few times. Yeah. Later on in my interview with Jimmy Korderas, we talk about that a little bit and how that was really well done from not only the superstars in ring, but also the official in the match. So yeah, Judgment Day. Live another week, but I don't know how much longer that's gonna last. The tag team championship match with the women's. This was the match that I'd say was the one that needed some work. It started off very good, and I think that it's just very obvious that Jade Cargill is just an absolute star. She has the look. Needs to work on some of the in-ring stuff, which is normal. I mean, she hasn't had a ton of time in the ring.
No, I mean, I think if you include her AEW debut, she's only been wrestling for maybe 3 years, 2 years, somewhere around there. I'm trying to remember when her match with Shaq was.
Her match with Shaq. Yeah. That's even just a funny thing to say.
I know.
When was her match with Shaq?
Right. I think that if I remember correctly, that's her debut match. Her and Shaq versus Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet on AEW.
What a beautiful thing to say out loud.
So that would have had to have been, that's probably 2021.
Yeah, it had to have been at least 3 years ago.
Because I remember it happening at Daly's place. Sorry,
that's right.
She's been wrestling for about 3 years.
Right.
Which is not that long.
No.
So
let's
you're
be
going to
honest.
have some faults here and there.
It's smart to keep her with Bianca. It's smart to make them the champions. There was just some things that were a little clunky there towards the end. I think there was some confusion on a missed tag.
Yeah, that was kind of an awkward situation.
So Asuka was technically legal, and then Kairi went for the pin, and the referee, you could tell, knew that she wasn't the legal woman.
Right.
So he went to tell her that, but then they couldn't. Jade is, still pretty green.
Right.
So it was hard for her to figure out, okay, so how do we get her to get to the tag to get to the next spot?
Yeah.
So improvising was a little bit tough there. It was pretty awkward.
It was clunky.
Got very clunky.
There was some missed spot. Like, there was a spot where Kyrie jumped off to, I want to say it was Bianca on the floor, and she caught her, like, thigh right to the face.
Right.
Thank God it wasn't, like, her knee to the face, because that would have caused some real damage.
Yeah.
So, like, there was some... Overall, it was the very actual end sequence was really good, where Jade did like that whole transition thing. Mm-hmm. That was sick.
Yeah.
But yet getting from like the first 5 minutes or so, like after the first 5 minutes till that point, it was a bit clunky at parts.
Yeah, a little bit clunky, but it's fine. I mean, it's things that they'll work on, and overall, like, I love that they're champions.
Yeah,
I think that they're going to be super fun, and it seems like that is also going to be. We just hate relationships and friendships in professional wrestling, apparently, because our brain automatically always goes to, well, when are they going to fight?
Right.
When is this going to build to a match between the two of them?
Which I definitely think it is.
It definitely is. They're the two strong women, they're tag team champions now. It's gonna break up eventually.
Yeah.
And it will be an awesome match.
Of all the ones I've pitched, I definitely think this is the most likely one to actually happen at SummerSlam.
Oh, SummerSlam again?
I do.
Flanabam, you realize that's not that far away.
It's like 3 months.
A lot needs to happen in that time.
I mean, you could easily break a tag team up in a couple months.
I think that's a WrestleMania match.
I think that's going to depend. Because I think if Rhea's healthy, I think they want to do either Bianca versus Rhea or Jade versus Rhea at a Mania.
I just don't see them breaking them up that soon. I think you need to give Jade some time.
I agree, but
maybe the Rumble. I think you give them to the Rumble.
I think Jade's going to win the Rumble.
What about Tiffy time?
I think Tiffy's going to win Money in the Bank.
You think she's going to win Money in the Bank?
She's going to win Money in the Bank because you could market her briefcase. And I think Jade wins the Rumble because she's that big body that you could believe eliminating like 15 people.
Right.
And getting the win and then facing probably Rhea, who's got her title back by that point. Possibly.
Yeah. I would just say this was the one weaker match on the card.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible. The crowd kept you in it, kept you interested in it. But at the end of the day, it ended up being, I think, definitely the weakest match on the Cole card.
Yes. Yeah, if you were going to rank them 1 to 5, this one comes in at 5.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that doesn't mean it's a bad match, by the way.
No.
It just means 4 other matches were better.
Exactly.
Like you said to start this, I agree that there were no bad matches on this card. It's just that one was the worst of the 5.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine because
one of them always has to be the worst.
If you go 4 for 5, that's pretty solid. Leads to the undisputed WWE Championship match. Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles. We all fell in love with the new French song this past weekend.
That was so
it's pronounced
incredible.
Il est vraiment phenomenal. Which basically the song literally says he is phenomenal.
Yes.
And that's what they were singing over and over again. Any single time AJ Styles got any bit of offense in, they would break out in this massive song singing that. I wanted to learn French in that moment. I needed to learn French in that moment.
Same. And I'm part French.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what they said.
You need to brush up. On your French,
I need to get my heritage down.
Get your French game on, brother.
I need to get my heritage down. I mean, it was insane. He wasn't even doing moves. He was just standing there getting introduced. And they were doing it so enough that the camera was shaking.
It was so good. The camera was shaking. And it was like, you forget that he's the heel in the match because the crowd would just kept singing. And I think that's just respect for AJ Styles.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about it. For this, this French crowd to come out and have this song that literally is about his nickname and sing it for him every single time. That's a crowd that appreciates an absolute legend in the ring. And there was no disrespect to Cody because he got crazy pops too.
Yeah, he did that. Whoa.
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
They probably heard that one in Switzerland.
Yeah. I think that might have been the loudest whoa I've ever heard. And that's including the one at Mania that had 4 times as many people.
Yeah. It didn't feel like it.
More than that.
That's... That crowd, man, I just couldn't get over it. I got chills so many times watching that because it just reminds you of all the things you just love about professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Where it's like this is what it should be. You should be in the moment. You shouldn't be thinking about what, why, when, how, or where, or how.
Right.
It should just be like, here we are. We're so pumped to be here. We're going to sing and scream and go crazy for when we're supposed to and boo when we're supposed to.
Right.
Just
Even
so
that,
good.
they didn't. They did it when they wanted to.
Exactly.
Also, like, good. A crowd should be, in that sense, not in the bullshit what chance and all that, but in the sense of, I like this guy, so I'm going to cheer for this guy. Crowd should do what they want in that respect.
Mm-hmm. Agreed big time. But
and especially because apparently it sounds like they may have paid a lot of money to go to that show.
Yeah.
Because apparently this was the highest indoor gate they've ever had.
Yeah.
And then at the start of the show, Michael Cole said there were 11,000 people there.
There was only 11,000 people there?
That was my reaction as well, which
shit.
means how much were those fucking tickets?
I was going to say there was at least 20,000 there.
Unless he misspoke.
Or at most 20,000.
I mean, unless he misspoke, I feel like I remember Michael Cole at the beginning saying 11,000 French fans.
That's shocking to me because...
Oh, they sounded like 30.
Yeah, the sound alone, but also like how big are their arenas there? They only got 11,000 people in there?
Right. And then that's the highest gate of all time. How much are you charging for tickets
Probably
for
a lot of money.
11,000 people?
Those French people
is your
are
highest gate of all time.
Yeah, they didn't give a fuck. They were like,
maybe give some people a discount, WWE. Goddamn.
Nah, they're like, we're showing out. Pay up, baby. Pay up. Backlash was a banger.
Backlash was a banger. And to me, that Cody versus AJ, the actual match, bear with me here for a minute because I'm going to go on a bit of a history lesson.
All right.
But it was insane to me how with AJ Styles, history kind of repeated itself. In that, I'm going to take you back, January 4th, 2017, Wrestle Kingdom 11, which featured Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada, which might be the best New Japan match I've ever seen and was without a doubt 2017's match of the year. You fast forward about 3 to 4 weeks, you get Royal Rumble 2017, where AJ Styles wrestled John Cena. And it wasn't as good as Omega Okada, but goddamn was that, an answer. And then cut to 2024, a couple weeks ago, Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson had the match of the year of 2024 and one of the best AEW matches I've ever seen. You fast forward 3 or 4 weeks, it wasn't as good, but Cody and AJ fucking answered. They had, to me at least, the WWE match of the year so far.
Yeah, I agree. It was so good, and the thing is like, I'm very curious to see where they go with it or who goes next, because if you're Cody Rhodes, you could not have asked for a better first PLE opponent.
No.
Because it's, first of all, a guy that's is going to bring it for the match itself. The promos are back and forth. He has a history. He's actually a guy who wrestled Dusty Rhodes.
Yep.
So you have that history, which did you see the gear?
Yeah, it was a tribute to when he won the NWA World's Heavyweight title for the first time, where I think he beat Dusty Rhodes to win it.
Yeah, he wore the same purple and all that stuff.
The only difference was I think
he was wearing trunks.
And those were purple as well. But like the boots were exactly the same.
Yep.
The purple, the shade of purple was the same. Like it was the same color scheme.
Yep.
Which was I love when people do touches like that.
A nice little callback.
Yeah.
It was a great callback to that match with Dusty way back in the day. Whatever it was, 20 plus years ago now. 2003, I think it was. Yeah.
God damn.
Which is crazy to even think about. Dusty was still wrestling.
Yeah.
Just weird to think about.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like wrestlers just age faster then.
The fact that AJ Styles was a world champion in 2003.
And could still be a world champion now.
Absolutely could be a believable world champion now.
100%. I would love to see it eventually, to be honest.
100%.
But yeah, awesome fucking match.
Yeah. I'm really hoping they do a couple of these.
Yeah, why not?
Like, I would love to see an AJ Cody at Night of Champions, or I would say Clash at the Castle, but I don't think Cody's going to be on that show. Only because if you're putting Cody on a show, he's main eventing, and I don't think he'd main event the show in Scotland.
Is Drew going to be healthy?
I think he will be. I think that's why they're pulling him from stuff to get him healthy.
Should you get him healthy for
that match? Because I think that's their big plan, is put him in that main event.
Yeah.
If you're in Scotland, you can't not put Drew McIntyre in the main event.
I agree with that 100%. But
I mean, it will depend on if Drew's healthy or not. But I think if Drew's healthy, I don't think Cody's at Clash at the Castle. Or if he is, it's probably in like a tag match. I don't think he's defending the title at Clash at the Castle if Drew's healthy.
And if those events are anything like what we got in Backlash in France, then we're expecting an incredible international crowd, and we should be very excited. So shout out to Backlash.
The actual best part about Backlash at France?
What?
It was over by 3:30.
Yeah, oh no,
3:45.
yeah. It was so good.
That's so fucking awesome.
I love me a nice 1 p.m. start.
Hell yes.
I loved it.
That's why I'm so looking forward to these next 2 premium live events. They're going to start at like 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And probably, I think, both can be on Saturdays, which makes it even better.
Yeah, Saturdays, that's just the way to be from here on out.
Absolutely. AEW, please take note.
For real.
Saturdays.
Love that.
You don't even have to, I mean, if you do Saturdays at 1 p.m., that would also be phenomenal, but I'll just settle for Saturdays at the moment.
They probably won't do that just because they don't want to make it seem like they're copying WWE.
I mean, probably, yeah.
But
it's okay to copy them in this one instance.
Agreed. That's Backlash for you. Great weekend of wrestling. Right now, we're going to get to our interview with Jimmy Korderas. Awesome conversation. We cover a lot. This guy is the man. We're definitely going to have him back on. But here he is, Jimmy Korderas. All right, Mike D back here for another Everything's Pro Wrestling podcast today, joined by a very, very special guest. We got a legend in the house, 20-plus year as a referee in the WWE. He's an author. You can catch him on Reffing It Up podcast and basically anywhere that includes any type of serious, really good professional wrestling talk. Jimmy Korderas, man, thank you so much for taking the time today.
No, my pleasure, Mike. Thanks for finally being able to get this done. I've been trying to coordinate this thing with you for a long time, and it finally worked out, so I'm happy.
No, it's my pleasure, man. And, I ran into you very quickly at Wrestlemania. You were a busy guy. I know you were hanging out with the Busted Open guys over there and catching up with a bunch of former colleagues of yours. And events like that must be super cool for you to go back and see all the faces that you've known for so long and what they're still contributing to the business.
No, it's absolutely the coolest thing ever. And, brought my wife with me on that trip to Philly, which is the first road trip she's ever gone on with me. Like she's been to shows here in Toronto, of course,
right,
with the old comps and stuff like that. And, but for an actual road trip, this was the first one and she couldn't believe it. She was loving it. She was having the time of her life. And for me, getting to visit some old colleagues and old friends, it's really special. And it's hard to describe because even though you don't see each other for a long time, once you get together, it's like you haven't lost a beat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all that connection is there, and it's cliche to say they're your road family, but they truly were because you were with them more than you were with your real family.
Yeah,
and you formed bonds with certain people. Obviously, not everybody's the same that you have a bond with. Everybody's friendly enough, but there are certain guys that you really, really form close bonds with, and it was cool to catch up with a lot of those guys.
Yeah, and I can only imagine for you, who was there very early on with the early WrestleManias, kind of seeing what it's become and being at Philadelphia, and I know you've been to other more recent ones as well, but seeing the spectacle, the WWE world, all the events that surround it, the NXTs, what is that like for you now that you're not necessarily there, working, you're doing the side, you're doing the stuff on the side with your shows and everything. But as far as like, being there and seeing it from the outside, what is that like? Because that must be crazy.
It's incredible to see how much it's grown and become such a global product. And, I know they talk about it all the time and it sounds very cliche. Again, I don't want to sound like Captain Cliche on your show here today,
right.
but it is truly amazing. Like we went by that WWE World at the convention center there and got to see all those lineups of fans lining up, waiting to get autographs with legends and with current superstars, and the merchandising that goes on and all the other crossovers they do with all the different things we saw recently this weekend with the Kentucky Derby. We saw where the announcement came out for next year's WrestleMania. We see the crossovers with NFL, and The Rock going out and doing the Daytona 500 deal. It's expanded, and we saw this past weekend in Lyon, France, the first time they did a pay-per-view over there. That crowd was absolutely insane. But going back to WrestleMania, it's just amazing how much it's grown over the years. Yes, they've done stadium shows in the past, obviously 2 here in Toronto, and I'll still call it the Skydome to this day. I'll call it the Skydome to this day. I'm not going to even mention the name it's called now for nothing personal. To me, it's always the Skydome.
Yep.
It has a special place for me, and even having Monday Night Raws there. But there's something special when you have a big crowd like that really engaged. These are fans that are super, super pumped, and they want to be a part of that weekend. And they don't want to be the fans that take over the show. They don't want to hijack it. They're the ones that are truly loving it, and that's special.
Yeah, and I think we saw that in Lyon, France this past weekend. And WrestleMania crowds are typically like that too, where it's the international crowd, so the real fans are there. It's not the like the what chants and the the CM Punk chants in the middle of a segment or whatever. So it was cool to see, but I was actually really interested to get your take on this because you've been a part of many very electric crowds as well. And what is that like when you're in the ring, as the talent, as the referee, and hearing that? Is there a different type of energy that even you got as a referee? Is it you have to focus more because there's so much noise? How do you tune that out?
I'll tell you from a complete standpoint, it energizes everybody in the ring, not only the talent, but us as referees as well. And sometimes we have to, get that out of your mind. You're thinking about it and you're going, oh my goodness, this is the most incredible thing. And it amps you up and it gets you jacked up. But again, you're the referee for this match. You have a job to do. And part of that job is being invisible and helping be that conduit, that, that connection between the guys to help them tell their story without being a part of the story, unless there's a spot in the match that calls for that sort of thing.
Right.
But, it also amps up the guys. I'll give you an example. Damian Priest and Jey Uso this weekend. We knew they were going to have a good match, and they probably knew what they were going to do and how good the match was going to be. But with that crowd behind them, that elevated them and brought their game up. And you could tell with the referee, I believe it was Dan Engler, if I'm not mistaken, there was some great false finishes in that match. And I know people go into this sort of thing saying, it's a predictable finish. I don't see Jey Uso winning, but I want to see how they get there. But there were times in the match where you went, oh, they got me. I thought that was it. I thought Jey Uso had it. And that was a three-way deal. All three of them worked together with the referee. Those false finishes, the counts were perfect. The kickouts were perfect. The guys worked together. And that was the energy brought upon them by the crowd, I think helped elevate that storytelling aspect throughout that whole show. So crowds like that definitely help. They can make a very good match great just by them being as vocal as they are. Like I said, not trying to hijack the show, just being enthralled and invested. And the guys feed off that. And it brings up that energy level to a degree where they're going to perform, and they know it. We got to perform for these crowds because what they're doing is off the charts.
Yeah, and it just, my God, what an event that was. It was, as a fan, as a spectator sitting at home, I couldn't even imagine what it must have been like being in that arena. I was telling my buddies, I was like, if I was in the ring performing, I'd be scared that I'd have so much adrenaline running through me. I might actually send a few stiff shots in there by accident. It's like you got so much adrenaline pumping.
No, but that's okay because you can, before you go out there, you apologize for what's going to happen because the juices are flowing. And watching that on Saturday, I'm very content to be retired from in-ring action. I'm happy to be home and doing the podcasting and doing the shows that I do. Very happy. But watching that show on Saturday, made me think, oh, I would love to be a part of that just one more time.
One more match.
That. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I love reading your perspective online. You're one of my favorite, professional wrestling personalities, if you want to call it now, retirees, to follow because you just give a really good, unbiased perspective. It's not necessarily, oh, my time was better because of this. It's more of like, I enjoyed this product. There's a ton of really great things happening, but these are the things that I feel like they're kind of loosening up on. And you do a lot of that during your ref and rants, which I look forward to every single day. Tell me a little bit about the ref and rants and kind of how those started and how they came about.
Well, it's just a little thing that started. It was a suggestion from my better half. My wife said, you know what? You go online and you do your broadcasting and you give your takes there. Why not do a little thing just on social media, a little short clip because, the attention span nowadays. And I keep them to a minute or just over a minute. And that's fine because, you can get your message out there and stuff like that and promote my stuff as well. It's a little bit of a two-way street. So we started and just to see what kind of feedback we get and I'm just having fun with it. I'm loving it. I've got my gimmick with my coffee mugs and stuff like that. And sometimes whatever shirt I could find is sometimes I'll run into an old school shirt that I have. But what my goal there was to basically make critiques that I thought could tighten some screws. As opposed to not to tear down and deconstruct,
right?
Is to maybe help, in my opinion. These are my personal point of views. Like, I'm not saying I'm right, I'm wrong. I'm saying this is the way I see it, coming from that world. And if I make a critique against one company, I'll make a critique against all companies. And if one company does something that I think needs to be addressed in a positive way, I'll do that as well. They're not always negative. Everybody can, oh, you're just ripping on these guys because you used to work for those guys. No, dude. I'm just being honest. I'm giving an honest opinion here. And people confuse the fact that they think, oh, you're stuck in the old days. You're the guy standing on your front porch screaming, get off my lawn. And I'm like, no, dude, old school and new school could work together. It's not yes, the wrestling business evolves over the years and sometimes the styles evolve, but there's always that element of old school you can incorporate to help sell tickets. Because it's not about those one moment. I'm going to do it here for you because I have to do it every week. It's not about getting in your twisting, burning 450 hammer Phoenix splash just to get a 2 count, just for that one to go viral online for 5 minutes and then it's forgotten about. You can do that, but find the right place for it as opposed to just trying to get it in. If that makes any kind of sense. Give me a reason. It makes plenty of sense. Because matches tell stories, and stories are what sell tickets. And I learned early on, just sitting in the room, listening, being that fly on the wall, this is where you make your money. Your face. Like this past week, we had that match with Ilya Dragunov against Ricochet. Yeah. In that tournament match. What a match. Great match. And Dragunov did something that a lot of people didn't realize that worked because he's not the biggest guy in the room. So he has to be that tough underdog fighting from underneath. But the thing he does well is he sells with his face. He gives you those facial expressions that draw you in. It makes you believe. Instead of just being the guy, instead of having chop fests back and forth where nobody's selling, competing Canadian destroyers where it feels like it means nothing. You just landed on your head, dude. Sell something.
Yeah. It takes you out of it. I'm very much like that. And I know there's a whole, I don't want to call it generation, because I've grown up now with 4 or 5 different generations. I'm 33, been watching professional wrestling since I can remember. And so I've grown up with many different styles and generations, but I feel like to me and a lot of us that had that the majority of our lives, the story, the selling, the no sells and the, back-to-back 450 splashes are cool and they're fun to watch once in a while. But when you go to watch a match like we had, or multiple matches like we had over the weekend at Backlash, where I think, I'd say 4 out of 5. The tag team championship match, we'll get to that in a little bit because I have a question for you about that match. Okay. It had some things to work out, some green, Jade's still working on things, but 4 or 5 of those matches, there was such a great story being told, and it was selling, and there was, they weren't just trying to get through their stuff, and it makes a big difference, for people that enjoy that type of stuff. I feel like, and I know we're not trying to make this the 2 brand thing, but I feel like WWE does that more than they do over at AEW. They're trying to cater to 2 different crowds. Is that kind of a fair perspective there?
Yeah, I would say so, because it feels like to me that AEW is catering to their niche audience. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have your hardcore diehards who love one brand, and you have your hardcore fans that like the other brand. But with AEW, the difference between AEW, in my opinion, and WWE is trying to cater not just to their audience, they're trying to cater to a broader audience. They're trying to draw more eyes in. And if you only concentrate your programming on one particular audience, a niche audience, then you don't grow your audience. And I think that's where they're lacking a little bit. They have to find a way to get their stars over. I'll give an example. The recent signings, of course, Will Ospreay, great signing, great talent. Okada, great talent. Mercedes Moné, great talent. Other than Mercedes, none of them have name recognition in North America. Yes, if you follow New Japan Pro Wrestling, you know who Okada is. You know who Will Ospreay is. You've seen them before. But if you don't follow, which is, in my opinion, a vast majority of the audience here in North America may have heard of them, but not really paid attention to what they've done overseas, get me invested in them. So you're bringing these guys in, they're great talents. Instead of just showing them on TV, here they are, look at, assuming that everybody knows who they are, build to it.
Right.
Give us a video package, give us a montage before you debut them on television, telling us who they are, give us a backstory, let us know that these guys are real talents coming over to AEW and are going to change the game, and pump your own tires as opposed to trying to compete with the other guys. You guys have your own night. You're not competing head to head like it was in the Monday Night Wars where they were head to head at the same time slot.
Right.
which was completely
Crazy.
different. You've got your own night. Concentrate on your own stuff. Leave the other guys. Get it out of your head. I've said this before, and I'll say it here. You know, a ship doesn't sink because of the water around it. It sinks because of the water that gets in it. And for a long time there, AEW was letting that water in. Don't bother with it. You guys started off, everything was great. Then you started, letting that water in, and it kind of took the product down. And now they're starting to find their way back.
Right.
And I like that. Concentrate on your stories. Concentrate on what you want to do with your talent. Leave the other guys out of the conversation, and then I think you can steer that ship in the right direction. And I'm seeing signs of it. It just, I'm hoping that they continue taking the course in the right direction.
Yeah, because I think we can agree that competition is good, and I think that now with this new iteration of WWE, we're calling it the Renaissance era, right? Or the Paul Levesque era, as they announced at WrestleMania. But I think competition isn't necessarily like required anymore to kind of grow the product because they're in such a good groove right now. But we do agree that competition is just good for anything. And AEW has brought some really good elements that you're even seeing sometimes WWE brings to their own product. So the two can coexist. It's just sometimes, like you said, you don't want to let that water into the ship too much.
Exactly. And again, I've got friends that are working there, and you don't want to see anybody lose their job at all.
Right.
And when AEW does well and WWE does well, it almost by osmosis, everyone does well. It lifts up the entire business. And that's what we want as friends, as people who are in the business, people who have friends there. You want them to see them succeed. And that's what a lot of people, unfortunately, online, I know this term has been used a lot, tribalism.
Right.
It's turned into like politics. And for me, I don't care what color the lawn sign is, of your party. Talk to me, have something that makes sense. Say something that makes sense to me. Or in wrestling, present something on television that makes sense to me, that draws me in, as opposed to, yeah, I like those dream matches, those one-on-one matches. Oh, this has never been seen before. That's kind of cool. But if you give me a reason to see it other than, oh, this is the first time ever, then I'm even more interested.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more with you there. So Backlash over the weekend, I saw you had a few tweets out there, watching as the same time as we were. The women's tag team match, it brought up a good question. There was some confusion there, it seemed, right, of who was the legal woman at the time, right? I think it was Asuka, but there was some confusion. It was a pin being made. Now, for the official in that situation, right? Obviously the official, more likely than not, is well aware of who's supposed to be the legal person there. Right. How do you make that audible, if you will? Like, how do you communicate that to the superstars in the ring and then make it seem like it's clean? Because you could see a little bit of their conversation happening briefly there.
Right. It's very difficult, especially in a situation where, and I'm not picking on her, Jade is a little bit green.
Right.
She still needs some work. So maybe if there was someone who's more of a veteran in there to kind of take control of the situation and settle things down. I mean, the referee should try to say, okay, ladies, let's calm down. Let's get back on track. Let's get to where we need to go. But I think that they were so caught up in the moment that they kind of lost track as well. So it was a little bit, I don't want to put blame on just the referee. I think it was an overall situation there where everything got confusing because we saw the pin attempt where he didn't count.
Right.
And then because Asuka was technically legal, he made the right call there. Then Asuka tagged herself in. If she's a legal person, why?
Right.
That's where the confusion starts now. If she's tagging herself in, sometimes the audience will go, well, why didn't he count the pinfall attempt earlier if she was, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it kind of went up. They got it back eventually.
Right. It came back. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, there was that moment where everybody went, wait, what just happened here? And you don't want that to happen.
Yeah. And I think that there's like a sort of an understanding from the average, professional wrestling fan of how much the official is involved in the timing of the match and kind of spots and all that. But how much is it on the referee in the ring? Like you mentioned earlier, a couple of the false counts in the Damian Priest and Jey Uso match. Is there like okay, this is it type of moment from you, or do they call that and communicate that with the referee?
There's a lot of it. It's a lot of on the fly. I mean, they feel it and they'll buzz you in your IFB in your ear and say, hey, listen, tell them it, like, for example, if a match is scheduled to go 12 minutes, let's say.
Right.
And if things are going great and the fans are going, as Pat Patterson used to say, banana, if they're going absolutely nuts, sometimes they'll buzz you and say, hey, tell them to stretch it out a few minutes. This is going well, or something like that. Now you have to be that conduit to communicate that, that message from the gorilla position to the talent and not make it overt. That's the challenging thing. You don't want to look like you're just walking over passing a message. You have to do it in the process of looking like you're doing your job. Like let's say they're in the hold and you can like ease yourself in and look like you're checking to see if someone wants to tap or give out or something like that. And you're saying, hey, do you want to give up? And you can quietly say, okay, 4 more minutes or stretch it out or whatever the case may be. And that's the art of refereeing. I know it sounds crazy. There's an art to referee. Yes, there is.
Definitely is an art. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the challenge. And of course, you're passing messages back and forth between the talent as well. Because they'll tell him, when he gets up, tell him to feed for a clothesline, tell him to feed for whatever the case may be. So you're passing back and forth messages. Again, you have to make it look not overt and look like you're doing in the process of doing your job. And as far as the situation this past week at Backlash, I think maybe there was a lack of communication. Maybe they couldn't hear each other because of the noise going on.
Very loud.
Yeah, trying to pass that message in that, and trying to be quiet and not let the cameras, because the mics have the cameras have mics, so you easily picked up, and you don't want the mic to pick it up as well. So I think just it went off the rails a little bit. They did get it back. They got the reaction they wanted at the end, which is important, but still, it was a little confusing for everybody.
Would you say that's the more difficult part of being a referee is, communicating without being picked up by the mics on the camera, or, even the camera catching you mouthing something to a wrestler in the ring?
Yeah, that is very challenging. And like I said, you have to do it in a way where it doesn't look like you're doing it. Like people, especially nowadays, because people are looking for it.
Right.
Exactly. Whereas before it just happened naturally, and the referees were in the background. You kind of stayed out of the picture, and it's weird. I've told this story before too. We're at WrestleMania 24, where for me was biggest match ever. I got the referee, was the main event with Edge and Undertaker, where I took the boot and got taken out of the match that way. And when I got to the back, I ran into my idol, Ricky Steamboat, who was a producer agent at the time, and before I could even say anything, he said, Jimmy, that boot you took looked great. It looked like you took your head off. I said, that's awesome, Ricky. Thank you so much. But how was the rest of the match? Was everything okay? Did you see anything? He said, to be honest with you, I didn't even notice you because I was so enthralled in the story they were taking. And I said, Ricky, thank you so much. That was the best compliment you could have gave me. And people are like, what are you talking about? That's a great compliment that he didn't even notice you. I said, that's what it's about. You're not supposed to be noticed. You're supposed to help them tell their story. And if you do it correctly, a good referee can make a great match even better, but if you're a referee who lacks that skill can take a good match and make it not as good.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
No, it makes plenty of sense. And it's funny because you would think that Ricky Steamboat telling you that you took a big boot and it looked great would be the compliment, right? The average person would be like, this, one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time told me that I took this move really well, but it's like, nope, I'm actually proud of the job I was actually in there to do, which is to not be seen as an official. So I think that's a really cool little perspective there. But what's your biggest gripe with the current officiating? Because I know there's a few things that have kind of lost its way, but what do you see as like the number one thing that's kind of, they don't even do it all anymore?
Enforce rules. The biggest gripe for me right now is referees do not enforce rules, and whether they're outside the ring to the referee applying a 10 count or even not against the ropes, you're trying to get them to break against the ropes. There is supposed to be a 5 count. I mean, you can fudge the numbers. You don't come in and you go right away and have to count. Or when they go to the outside, you don't have to count right away. You can give a few warnings here. Hey, get back in the ring. Let's bring it back in the ring, gentlemen, or whatever the case may be. Then you can start a count. And your count doesn't have to be super fast or anything. You could take your time. But the talent has to be aware, too. It doesn't only fall on the referees. It falls on the talent. They like to stay out there nowadays for like a minute, 2 minutes.
They're out there, yeah. Once in a while, they'll roll back in to restart the count. That was maybe happening.
That's all they have to do.
Right.
One guy rolls in, rolls back out. Guess what? Count starts over again. And before you start counting again, you can give them more of one. Hey, get back in here. I said, get in, whatever your verbiage is.
Yeah.
And especially in the ropes, tags now, they do tags and they're in there and they're doing 55 moves and double team moves and the referee's waving their arms around like
I lost control of this match. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Everything feels like a Texas tornado match
right
nowadays. I will give credit to the WWE because they try to enforce those rules as best they can. But and I know people are going to say, here he goes picking on the AEW guys again. But that's where I see the most egregious misuse of the officials, whether it's distraction of the referees. They distract them several times every show, it feels like.
Right.
And they don't do it creatively. Because the heat doesn't go on the heel like it's supposed to go. When you distract the referee, it's supposed to look like the heels are manipulating the referee, and it should be quick.
Right.
But the referee's got his back turned for 30 seconds while all this stuff is going on. He doesn't hear all the noise going on behind him and not figuring out, hey, maybe something's going on I should check on. He's focused over here with somebody on the apron. It's almost like they say, okay, we're going to do this. Just go stand over there for 30 seconds.
Right.
And you just could. And I know I don't put a lot of it on the referee. A lot of it goes to the talent as well, because they have to figure out creative ways to do it. And it really bothers me when I heard Tony Khan a while back. He was on the Busted Open show and he was being interviewed, and Bully called him out on it.
Yeah.
He said, how do you feel about your referees? Is there, with the issue with the referees enforcing the rules and letting things slide and stuff like that, do you think that's a problem that should be addressed? And he said, or whatever the question was, how he worded it. And Tony Khan just said, well, our fans don't care about that thing.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, I said, oh, dude, that's not right.
Right.
They are not the focus, but they are an important part of the story, helping tell that story. Because if you don't have rules to enforce, then why bother having them there? Just have them stand in the corner, wait to the finish, count 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. That's a valid point. It is a part of the match. As much as you say you want to be in the background because it's not about you, it's still important to, it's a sport, right? It's a fight, and it's not, or either that or just make every fight a street fight.
Yeah. And the important thing you said there was be a background player. That's what you are. You're in the background. And I see a lot of referees now trying to get noticed. Want to be so, hey, look at me kind of thing. But it's not about you. Sorry. I don't know one person in striped shirt other than special guest referees that has ever sold a ticket that anybody wanted to pay to see. The only time anybody came to see me referee a match was when I got them comps, and that was my family.
Yep. Biggest fans out there.
Yeah.
But you mentioned, taking the boot from Taker. What are some other memorable bumps? Because referee bumps have been very important over the years, whether it be they're knocked out, another ref has to come in. Big part of a lot of stories in professional wrestling history. What are some of your favorite bumps that you've taken, or some of the worst ones, rather?
Oh, where do I start?
I'm sure there's plenty.
I mean, I have a philosophy about ref bumps, and people don't get this as well, is that a referee shouldn't bump like one of the wrestlers. Because when you do, now you look like you're trained to take them. And the referee's not supposed to look like a trained talent. So it should look a little awkward. I mean, you're going to try and bump as best you can and protect yourself as best you can, but you shouldn't flat back if you get, whether it's a clothesline or punched or whatever the case may be. But that's my philosophy with that. But some of the worst bumps I've taken, obviously knocking myself out at WrestleMania 4. It's the Honky Tonk Man and Brutus Beefcake match where I got hit with the megaphone by Jimmy Hart. And when I went down, face first, my hands, I put my hands down to brace myself, but they shot out, my chin hit the ring. And that's the last thing I remembered. Lights out.
Woke up somewhere in a hospital somewhere or backstage.
I've been everything from, I've taken the money shot from Val Venus.
That's classic.
Yeah, one of my favorites is taking the Stone Cold Stunner.
I watched that the other day. I saw he was stunning a bunch of refs were in the ring. I saw you take it. You did a pretty good job.
Well, thank you. It was an honor to take it. It was like everybody's lined up. Okay, I want to be next.
Yeah, I would love to get Stone Cold stunned right now. I mean, I'm sure it's more difficult for him these days, but man, that's it's like a rite of passage right there.
Yeah. They did a Monday Night Raw from the Sky Dome one year, and where Ken Shamrock just went wild and started taking everybody out, and because it was my hometown, they figured, okay, you'll be the last guy in. I got belly to belly by Shamrock, and then ankle locked. So
Jeez, he put you through the ringer.
Yeah, they figured, hey, it's your hometown kid, put him over.
Yeah, that's it. They brought you right into the lion's den with that one.
Yeah, but one of the hardest ones, believe it or not, was I don't know, it was put online a few weeks ago where they had the Legion of Stooge, Mr. Patterson and Mr. Briscoe.
Yep.
Had that match where they imitated the Legion of Doom wearing the spikes, shoulder pads, and the whole bit. But the following week, they had them a scene of them at the coffee table getting their drinks ready and stuff like that. And they turn around right as they're going to break, going, "Oh no, guys, please, no, no," and you know what's coming.
Yeah.
So during the commercial break, they had the beatdown of them, and I was the first one to run in to break things up. And as I ran into one from Animal. He just turned around and went, pop, right over here, went down like a ton of bricks, hit the floor. And as I'm laying there, I'm going, oh, there's a pool.
There it is.
You talk about hard way. That was hard way. But the funny part was everybody ran over because we were in commercial break. And they were going, Jimmy, you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm okay. I'll be okay. They said, you sure you're okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. It's just, it's a, so I said, okay, lay there, Sal. We're going to shoot that when we come up from break.
Of course. They're like, are you good? Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah. So instead of the first shot being Briscoe and Patterson, who just got beat up, I got the glory shot after
there
break.
It is.
Me with Mike Chioda standing under me, like kind of sopping up with a napkin. But it was almost like, yeah, that's kind of cool. And everybody's like, yeah, but you're bleeding. And I'm like, yeah, you took one for the team. Big deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's crazy to think back on how long like that era kind of lasted, like where you went from, was it golden era to the new generation, and then it was attitude era, and then you were there through the ruthless aggression era.
Yes.
And
yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, because from the beginning of your career to, kind of the tail end of it, so much had changed in regards to kind of the personalities, right? The performers, the product as a whole. And how was that? Like, was that like kind of strange going through it? Could you feel it happening as each generation was changing?
Oh, absolutely. You can feel it happening because, with each generation, like you said, the golden era with Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant and that, bigger than life characters. And that was great. And as it evolved into different iterations of the company, where it went through the PG era, the attitude era, the ruthless aggression, and that sort of thing. I think a lot of that had to do with the Monday Night Wars kind of fueled that fire.
Right.
And, lit a fire under somebody's butt to go, hey, you know what? We've got some real competition here and they're kicking our butt. So we got to up our game. So they took some cues. I think the pendulum started shifting when if I had to pick one particular moment, maybe that Hell in a Cell match with Taker and Foley upped the game big time, because as crazy as we've seen stuff in ECW, and they were starting to catch on too as well. Nobody had ever seen anything like that before.
Yeah,
that was a moment. You talk about moments. That was a huge moment, and I think that started to shift the pendulum when you had people like Undertaker and Mankind, who had these over-the-top characters, but at the same time you were able to sit back and have that suspension of disbelief and be enthralled by it and be entertained by it, as opposed to going, oh, you know what, there's no, yeah, I know this is,
right.
I'm not going to use the F word.
Right.
This is all sports entertainment, and I know people get hurt about that terminology. I don't have a problem with it, because pro wrestling is sports entertainment.
Right.
Exactly what it is. But getting to go through those eras, getting to, be in the ring with people like Hulk Hogan and Andre and the Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat, like I said, one of my idols, Jimmy Snuka, going down that era, and then getting to go through The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin and John Cena and Kurt Angle, HBK. Brock Lesnar, HBK and DX, and even the Hearts, and oh my goodness. When I think back on it, I go, man, was I truly blessed to be a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And that's why we still talk about it so fondly these days, is that era. But I want to, I know I'm taking a lot of your time here. I do appreciate it.
No worries.
This current era that we're in, I would say is comparable to, you know, that Attitude Era feel where it's the product is fantastic, the crowd is into it, they're doing crazy numbers, it's hitting the mainstream like you mentioned earlier, they're doing the things to get those crossovers with everything. I mean, everywhere you look these days, it's why I call this podcast Everything is Pro Wrestling, because pretty much everywhere you look, it's either The Rock or, you know, you got Cody Rhodes popping up. Is it because, well, I mean, I'm sure this is a much bigger conversation. There's a lot of things, but what do you make of just the amount of superstars that are over right now? Because Backlash was a good, you know, indication of that, where you just see every person that was supposed to be the baby face was getting the baby face pop. Every heel was getting the heel reaction. You know, has there been a time like this since that Attitude Era? Is this going to usher in those conversations where we no longer have to look back on those days and be like, oh, it's never like those days again?
Yeah, it's funny because the wrestling business has gone in cycles. It's been a roller coaster ride, and this now the roller coaster is climbing.
Mm-hmm.
They're hitting a high point right now, and hopefully this lasts for a while because it goes in cycles.
Right.
It that's just the history of the business and the nature of the business, the way it goes. But they're on a new height right now. This roller coaster is climbing higher than it's ever been before. They need to keep this momentum going. They've got a ton of superstars there to do it. The roster is stacked. You look at how many guys are hugely over as baby faces. And I know it's in this era, it's cool to cheer the heels,
Right.
because especially when you're a cool heel, but when you do it right, like a Drew McIntyre, when you do it right, like a Gunther, they've got guys in place that can do it. Cody Rhodes is a monster over babyface. He's the face of the company right now. He's a great face for the company. The way he handles himself in front of the crowd, the way he handles himself with the young fans at ringside, stopping, taking selfies, signing belts, that kind of stuff. And he's a guy you could present and put in media interviews. Right. He could do the Tonight Show. He could do whatever, you know, wherever you place him. And he's a good representative for the company. But he's also that guy that down the road, he can kind of flip that switch and be on the other side. But don't do it yet, because you've got other guys in the wings. Look at the guy like LA Knight, hugely over, and everybody's saying, when's his time going to come? And that's the challenge right now, is you've got so many guys over. You don't want them fading in the background too much, because you might miss that opportunity to capitalize on that audience investment in them. So it's both a blessing and a curse to have so many people over, because you can only put so many people in the upper storylines, the main storylines. So it's a fine balance. But they've got a lot of players, and they got a lot of great minds who are flexible too, and not only have a vision, they listen to others as well. You got a lot of people in the room. Paul Heyman, one of the best. Michael P.S. Hayes, who doesn't get enough credit for his wrestling mind. There's just a lot. Of course, Hunter. You know, there's a reason why they call him the Game, because he knows the game very well. Yeah, and you know, hopefully they could ride this wave, because everybody else could piggyback off this. Definitely resurgence in professional wrestling. All the companies, and to me, it doesn't matter what three letters precede the company name. Let's enjoy it all, because everybody's on a bit of a roll right now. Let's take advantage of it.
What do you think is the major key to keep that momentum?
Being fresh and giving people reasons to tune in, not just throwing matches out there. That's one of the biggest pet peeves I have. Like I said before, where it's great to have this one-on-one match between two guys that first time ever. This is a dream match. But you can only have so many dream matches that people get. It's like the special announcements every week. This week I have a special announcement. And then you have the announcement and you go, I hate to put it this way. I don't know your language parameters, but it's like a fart in the wind.
No language parameters. Yes, but it's true. It is true. It ends up feeling that way, because you don't want to continuously overhype things to the point where your audience just stops caring, and they're just like, well, we heard it 2 weeks ago, and it was the same thing. It was a fart in the wind. You know, we don't care. You know.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people say, well, that's a similar type of storyline that they did with so and so. But if you tell the story right, then it doesn't matter. But if it feels too similar and doesn't feel like there's a lot of thought put into it, then that's when people start to go, I've seen it before. But it's okay. Yeah, it's okay to repeat certain sort of directions and how they present it, but little tweaks here and there, and make it interesting and give us reasons. Reasons are the main thing.
And it's the same thing. I mean, you could say the same thing about music and TV and movies. It's all the same, where it's like the premise may have a lot of similarities, but the actors, the musicians, they're all different. You know, the way the story turns and who shows up and who saves who, and that's the benefit that pro wrestling has, is that, like, you know, an actor is that same character the whole movie, right? And then they do another movie and they're just a different person. Whereas professional wrestling, it's the same person. They're just at a different point in their life based on what story, if they're the babyface, if they're the heel, and that's what makes it so entertaining and great for us. It's just it's a beautiful thing, and when it's done right, there is no entertainment better. I've said that, you know, for years and years, is that when professional wrestling is done correctly, there is absolutely, and I know that the trendy word to use right now is it's cinema. I think it's even better than cinema. It's so good.
And you got to remember that this is 52 weeks a year of live programming. That's hard to do. There's no other entertainment industry that does that,
Right.
like pro wrestling does. So it does take a lot of work and a lot of creativity to keep that ball rolling for the entire year. And right now they're doing it well. I mean, from week to week, you'll have some weeks that are really awesome and off the charts, and some
Right.
weeks will be hit and miss, you know. Like I thought Monday Night Raw was good this week. There was some stuff in it that felt like didn't really resonate with the audience, because the live audience tells you all you need to know. When they respond, you know it's working. And when they don't respond, you know, they're saying, okay, you don't sound like they're invested. And they're the biggest barometer. But I know, again, I'm rambling on here, but
No,
the biggest, another thing that, you know, the predictability, everybody says, well, that was predictable. The outcome was predictable. It's okay to be predictable. It's all in how you tell the story you get in there. It's like a movie or a book based on a true story. If you know the true story, you know what the ending is, but I'm going to be enthralled in the story that led me to that ending and make that ending mean so much more.
Yeah, Jimmy, I knew way too many people that saw Iron Claw without knowing anything about the Von Erichs, and they thought they were going in to see this triumphant, you know, professional wrestling story, and I was like, well, yeah, enjoy it, you know, it was a great film, but story is not necessarily the most uplifting, if you will.
Of course, but then someone who comes from the wrestling world, and someone who, like you, who is you know, knows the history of that story, that tragic story. You knew what the ending was going to be. You knew what the outcome was going to be, but you wanted to see that story being told, getting there.
Exactly.
To see why give me the reasons why that happened. And to this day, you know, we may not know the true reasons why,
Right.
what actually happened, but the story telling it. Even my wife, who watched it, who's not a wrestling fan, was enthralled by the story.
Yeah. I mean, there's really you know, knowing the history of it and learning the history of it through the years, it is something that you want to know about. You know, it's that morbid curiosity that we just have as people. And it just seemed like such a crazy story. And I think that the adaptation that they did, you know, with the film was really good and really well done. And man, just powerful stuff. But Jimmy, these international PLEs, right? There's a lot of talk about them. We just saw how well it worked in Lyon, France. They have a couple more coming up this summer for WWE. Do you think there'll ever be a WrestleMania? I know Nick Khan mentioned he only wanted to keep it North America, Canada, USA, maybe Mexico. But now with the success that we saw there, I'm sure it's going to be similar in Scotland and in Germany this summer. Do you think we'll ever see a WrestleMania overseas somewhere?
Maybe down the road somewhere, because the logistics of it happening overseas, it's tough. It's tough to do, because you know, you have to get all the talent over there for the entire week, all the stuff in play. Like now they do the WrestleMania World and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot in play there. There's a lot of real planning that goes into it. It's easier to do it in North America because it's easier to transport all the equipment and all the stuff they need, you know, within the continental United States and North America. Canada, I guess we count as part of it.
Yeah, of
Part of
course.
it, because all you got to do is drive across the border. It's all cool, but
Yeah.
it would be nice to see it.
Mm.
But I just think from a logistics standpoint, it might be it's a lot more difficult. So hopefully it can get done before this wave
Yep.
peters out, so to speak. Maybe down the road. Again, it's going to be tough, but next year in Vegas, I found it interesting that they decided on Easter weekend to do it in Vegas, and reading apparently the reasons why, now it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Why in Vegas? Why on that weekend? Obviously they say that Las Vegas, the tourism is down during Easter weekend because people spend it at home with their
Right.
families and that sort of thing. But the wrestling fans are going to show up anyway.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
They're going to show up anyway. So they will help the city with their tourism. And not only that, people who are staying home with their families, it'll almost be like a Super Bowl Saturday and Sunday, where, families get together and they'll say, after a nice Easter dinner, let's sit back and watch WrestleMania. So,
Heck yeah.
Maybe it's a good call. We'll see.
I think it is. Anytime you can, you already have people gathered as it again, I was fortunate to be at WrestleMania this year, but in years past, we've always have WrestleMania gatherings, and even for all the PLEs. So I think it could work. I'm excited for Vegas. I think that'll be awesome. And we'll see where they go from there to build towards it. It's gonna be a fun summer. But I want to wrap with a couple things. Timmy White, we're in Rhode Island. Tim White's from Rhode Island. He had a Friendly Tap, obviously a very famous bar. Give us a good Tim White story.
Oh, I don't know where to begin with Tim White. Tim White was one of my mentors.
Yeah,
he was really, really cool. Helped me learn what to do and how to referee correctly. Him along with both Hebners and Danny Davis, and always learning, always being a sponge. But Timmy was awesome. I wish I could think of a good story.
You ever go to the Friendly Tap?
Only once.
Yeah.
Only of all those years, I only got to go once, and it was nice. It wasn't anything egregious happening. Just a nice little drinking some daddy sodas and having some fun there. But him traveling with Andre was awesome. I remember, having being a young guy, having to go pick him and Andre up from the airport Marriott and stuff like that, and bring him to Maple Leaf Gardens and all that sort of stuff was kind of cool. And
did they get a stretch limousine to fit Andre in the back?
No, it was Jack Tunney's Fleetwood Cadillac. He had this big 84 Fleetwood Cadillac where, Timmy would sit up front and Andre would take up the whole back seat.
Yeah, exactly. You have to put the seat. Tim's probably has a seat all the way up, up against the
both of us did.
There. Yeah.
Yeah, both of it. I'm driving with the steering wheel in my lap.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so funny. Yeah, it's I know, because Rhode Island is the smallest state in the country, so everybody knows. Anybody that's in the wrestling world knows of Tim White and had gone to the Friendly Tap over the years. But it's nice to hear so many people have such fond memories of him. And I want to wrap with this: somebody like Tim White, somebody like Jimmy Korderas. When are we going to get a referee in the WWE Hall of Fame? Because, as you mentioned, it's such a big part of the wrestling world. So when are we going to start seeing more come in?
I don't know. That's a good question because, obviously Timmy's in there as a Warrior Award recipient, and Teddy Long, who not just as a referee, because he was, multifaceted. He was GM, he was a manager, well-spoken. He had so many different roles on television. He wasn't just a referee. So, yes, there is a referee in the Hall of Fame, but at the same time, he was not just a referee.
Right. He was a GM, on air, whatever.
Right. It would be nice to have referees going, because there are deserving ones. Like, obviously, like you said, Timmy White to go in the official Hall of Fame, not just the Warrior Award recipient. The Hebners, of course, and would be a no-brainer. Eventually down the road, Mike Chioda, Charles has to go. Yeah. There's a lot of names that can go in there. And again, it's not about us, but at the same time, to be recognized would be a nice little touch, especially for those who and sometimes, I don't know, I don't want to say underappreciated, because I know that the talent appreciated us very much. It just it's nice to have a little, pat on the back, so to speak.
No, it is. It definitely is. It's an important part of the whole product. It's not like other sports where like the referees in professional wrestling, they help the match go. They're the big part of the reason why things happen the way that they do. Right. So yeah, I'll be, if you need somebody to campaign for it, Jimmy, I'm your guy. All right, I'll help you out.
Oh, we'll get the ball rolling. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's do this. You know what? Maybe you'll get inducted in Vegas, and we'll go out there. We'll have a nice after party.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be cool. I'm already in the New England Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Even there you go. Where is that one located? I don't know if I've ever been there.
Well, Joseph Bruin is the one who does that little thing. And what year was that? I got the plaque on the wall there. 2013.
Where did they have the ceremony?
Was it? Oh,
Was it in Massachusetts? You remember?
15.
It was in. Let me talk to the boss. Where was
15.
2015? Sorry, and where was it
2015.
again, huh? Was it in?
Rhode Island.
It was in Rhode Island.
It's
if
in
I'm
Rhode
not
Island.
mistaken.
Oh, yeah. Well, damn, that's where I live I live in Mass now, but I'm like right on the border, so we're
Yeah.
literally right there. But
I want to
that's
say it was in Providence. Was it in Providence?
Yes.
Yeah, we were in Providence when that happened.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's Providence. The history here. There was it Jack Witchy's? Is it Jack Witchy's? It was a small venue here, right down the street from where I live,
Mhm.
and that's an area like my parents used to go watch back in the day. My dad still talks about seeing Haystacks Calhoun and all those guys back in the day. George Animal Steel and Bruno Sammartino, and that's literally so. This area where I live, wrestling is a part of the history here. Like it's a big deal. So that's why it's you said earlier it's nice to be remembered. Well, it's because you got people like us that have been around for decades and generations, and we'll pass it on for more generations.
Well, that's very much appreciated. That means a lot. And all those names you mentioned were, again, people in my wheelhouse too. I remember those grow, well, kind of grown, a little bit grown up,
Yeah.
but getting to see those names are, some legends, some icons, and it was awesome. Especially up here in Toronto because we got so many different promotions on television we got to see every week. It was amazing.
It's an incredible stuff. Jimmy Korderas, man, it was such an honor to talk to you, and I look forward to doing this again down the road. But you could find Jimmy Reffing It Up podcast, Wrestling Inc., right, as well?
Yeah.
We have, you make appearances with the Busted Open guys, talking smack with Bully and with LaGreca over there. He's an author and, of course, a legendary referee in professional wrestling for over 20 years. Jimmy, man, this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it very much. It was a lot of fun. I get to reminisce sometimes. Every once in a while, it takes one little thing to jog my memory, but when I do, I just hit ramble.
No, that doesn't
ramble button.
listen, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as things like this where we are having a nice conversation. There's no such thing as rambling. I'm a story guy. I love stories. And if I had, that's why we have to do this. We have to do a part 2 because my colleagues, unfortunately, one of them got married on Sunday and another one is out of town this week as well. But I'd like for you to meet them too, and they have definitely some stuff for you. So if you have some time in the future, we'd love to have you back on.
No, absolutely. Anytime, as long as we can coordinate it better than we have so far. Yeah.
I know. Maybe leading up to one of the PLEs this summer, but
cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Jimmy Korderas, thank you so much, and we'll chat with you again soon. Another big thanks to Jimmy Korderas, our guy. Awesome interview. Next time, we got to make sure you guys are there.
Yes.
Timings issues, we are all people. First of all, Flanny got married, so he was off on his honeymoon.
He had the greatest excuse
of
all time.
We work full-time jobs, so we sometimes can't make it all work. And Jimmy was, gave me a few times that he was available, so I had to make it work and do it. So
you know what? Even though it was just you, better you got him than not get him at all.
No, I agree. Yeah. Awesome interview, man, and just a great dude. Very smart, knows this business just about as good as anybody. So
he also just seems like a chill dude.
Oh, dude, he's super chill. Awesome. Super chill. I already told him if I go up to Toronto, man, we're gonna link up, throw back some beers, and hopefully fix the Maple Leafs because that's
they need a lot of help.
They need a lot of help. Raw was back in the States, Hartford not far from us.
Nope. Which makes sense because it's like a semi-coastal town, so it's not an easy one to just fly right into.
Yeah,
from France.
I agree with that.
Which is also insane that apparently they also then did a live event. Oh, no, never mind. That was just SmackDown. I was going to say they did a live event on the Sunday, but that was just the SmackDown roster.
Yeah.
So Raw people traveled back.
Right. Which was good. Yeah. Raw was very much just King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring stuff. Which I thought was cool.
Yeah,
dedicated.
I like that it was dedicated.
We talked about how we want them to make King and Queen of the Ring feel important again.
Yes.
To bring back some prestige.
Yes.
And I think they did a good job doing that.
I agree. The one thing I don't love is I wish they went back to all the matches on one night.
The pay-per-view itself.
Yeah, I loved when they did that.
That was fun.
Those were the best King of the Rings. I don't mind the way they've done it now, and I get why they do it now, because then you can book a bunch of other matches on Queen and King of the Ring, the PLE, as opposed to just here's 18 matches and they're all king and queen in the ring matches. I get that.
Or what if you do like qualifying matches?
Right, and then you do like the last...
And then the last
2 or 3 rounds.
Quarterfinals and up.
Right.
You have in one night.
I completely agree with that.
You know? And then, I mean, to me, that really shows the true king and queen of the ring because it's like almost like a gauntlet.
Right.
You know, where it's like you have to win all those in the same night.
Right.
You can play it up so they're gassed. One person had a longer match and interference and injury, and there's so many things you could do with it, and that they're missing out on.
And you always had the thing where like the matches had time limit, so you always had one that went to a time limit draw, so nobody advanced, so somebody got a bye in the next round, and you're like, ooh, that person's going to be refreshed. How is this person that had to wrestle 4 matches or however many matches it was already competes with this guy? Like it adds drama to it.
And then you get the spot. Somebody has to go through the glass and fail twice, like Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon.
And then think, fuck it, we're doing it
anyways. At that point, I already have CTE. It does not matter at this point. I don't even know where I am or who my father is.
Yeah, which might not
that probably wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world.
Right.
But yeah, awesome stuff. Really loved the beginning with the Judgment Day stuff. Finn thinking he was going to get a bye.
Yeah.
Because Drew was unable to perform. Nope. You get the Yeet Man, Jey Uso, main event. Jey Uso comes out. Good match.
Solid match.
Gets the win.
Yep. Which I think
Drew thought he was going to, Drew came out, right?
Yeah, which was weird.
Which I thought was a very strange way to, why is he being shoehorned into that?
Right. I know him and Jay have, like, the thing.
Right.
Like, they've had a bit of history, and I guess him and Damian also have a bit of history now, but it's like, I don't know, it felt forced.
Also, he's very much involved with CM Punk, and it's not like Jey Uso hurt you where you had to be replaced by him.
Unless they tried to use that as like have him show up so we can use that as the excuse of, because they did the thing where Punk arrives and Drew just left.
Yeah.
So like you have to see him so you know he was there to have left type of thing. But I don't know. It felt a bit forced.
That actually makes sense though. When you put it that way, it makes sense.
But it still just felt forced. You could have done it a different way, in my opinion.
But leading into the CM Punk promo, it makes sense now that you put it that way, where it's like, well, he had to be here at some way.
Right. You had to see him.
We started with this match, so let's use the so let's use the history that Drew and Jay have together to kind of show, hey, he was here and then he bounced.
Right.
So CM Punk can be like, come back, bitch.
Right.
Which
that's probably why they did it, but I don't know. I would have liked it better if they even just did like a backstage segment with Drew and Pierce where he's like, where's Punk?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, he's not coming or something like that. And then all of a sudden Punk shows. He's like, well, fine, then I'm leaving. And then all of a sudden Punk shows up.
Yeah.
I think that could have worked better personally. This wasn't terrible. It just, I don't know, it just felt a bit off in my opinion.
Felt a little bit off. But I mean, not like it's completely like taking you out of the show,
not.
But it was just random, felt a little bit random and weird or whatever. Right. And then we mentioned it earlier, the Damian Priest situation with Judgment Day. Punk's promo was great.
Yeah.
As always, he's really caught fire. I remember, thinking back to his first promo after his return.
It was weird. That was an awkward promo.
It was. And there were so many people worried that this dude had been neutered, that he's going to be this fake, ass-kissing punk, and eventually he's going to fucking choke somebody again, and then we're going to go do this whole thing all over again. I don't believe so. I think that what he was doing at AEW, he always felt like was below him. His plan, if he wanted to get back into professional wrestling full time, was always to be back in the WWE. So I think that now that he's here and he sees a direction that it's all going, that he's probably like, you know what? I'm going to do my part.
Yeah.
Came back, kissed a little bit. Not kiss ass, but he would kind of
be respectful.
Be respectful.
Right.
And now we're getting Punk.
Yeah. The only part with that I disagree with, I don't even necessarily think he thought AEW was beneath him. I just think he thought there's no structure here. What the fuck is going on? Where WWE is a structured environment, and I think he feels more comfortable in that.
Right, but I mean,
like if somebody mouths off to him at WWE, he knows somebody's going to handle it.
Right.
But when it happened at AEW, nobody handled it.
But that's what I mean. It's just like, he feels like, what am I doing here? I'm here with children.
Right.
And a fucking fanboy for an owner.
Right.
I just keep shitting
his
on Tony Khan.
fanboy, so maybe he was okay with that.
True.
Possibly.
Until he felt like he was fearing for his life, but we don't need to go there again. But yeah, a lot of good matches on Raw for the beginning of the King and the Queen of the Ring tournament. What was your favorite one of the night?
Ooh. This is a cop-out, but it's probably a tie between Gunther and Sheamus and Ricochet and Ilya.
Yeah. Ilya...
I have a really hard time. They were both so different, which is why I think I like both of them so much. I have a really hard time choosing which one of those two I like better.
Are you surprised that Ilya beat Ricochet?
No. I mean, no, because I think they have big plans for Ilya, so this is a good way to make them feel like a big thing. And it doesn't make Ricochet look worse either. They had a very competitive match.
They did, and Ilya was just an NXT champion, so I know he has that coming into it, but...
And Ricochet's speed champion.
Ricochet is speed champion, right. But to me, the way that you've been building up Ricochet the last few months, I know it's the NXT champion, but technically this is a guy up in the main card. It feels like, to lose, and I know, again, I'm going super like IWC here, but to lose kind of cleanly to a guy who just got called up, if you're Ricochet, when you were anticipating, not anticipating, but it would seem like he was getting some type of mid-card bump.
Yeah, I think he still
push,
will. I don't think this hurts that.
Okay. I know it's good. It's good because I don't know how I feel about it.
Because to me, it doesn't make Ricochet look less than. It makes Ilya look bigger. Like it elevates him and it doesn't hurt Ricochet.
Okay.
I mean that's how I view it.
All right. No, I mean that's a good perspective. I don't necessarily disagree. I just didn't really know how I felt about it. I was kind of shocked to be honest. I thought that they would use this match to make Ilya look strong, but lose. Because
I get that.
But if you're saying that you think that they have big plans for him, then yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. And it's a guy that it's not some scrub coming up from NXT. Right. He was a champion and he puts on great matches. And his match on wait, did he partake? He didn't partake in Speed.
No,
he didn't partake in Speed. But he would be somebody who'd be cool.
I would love to see him in Speed.
But yeah, no, that to me was my favorite match of the night. Yeah. I thought that was a great match. I do love me some fucking big, meaty men slapping meat, though.
Yeah, they fucking delivered.
And both of their chests, I mean, I don't even know how they don't collapse lungs.
Yeah.
The way they smack each other up.
I think if that match, and I understand it's a TV match, so you have to do it. But I think if that match didn't have commercial breaks and we didn't get that, stop in the flow of it, to me, that would be in contention with Cody and AJ as WWE's match of the year.
Okay.
I thought it was... I think if you watched that live, you probably fucking loved it.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, dude, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was just, it was so good. And Sheamus is somebody that early on in his career, I did not like. I didn't like Sheamus. I thought he was boring.
Yeah.
I was wrong. But also it was a different Sheamus. Now I feel like, when did he turn into this absolute workhorse? Because he's always been a good worker.
Yeah.
He's always been a beast, but I'm talking about this just workhorse that holy shit, this dude can put on banger after banger.
Yeah, like he says he does.
Yeah.
So there was a period, if I'm remembering correctly, there was a period before this recent injury where I think he was injured again and he was off for a while. Then he came back from that, and that's when it felt like he was starting to have just banger after banger after banger, as he says.
His tag team with Cesaro.
With
the bar.
They were incredible.
That to me... because if you remember, he came back with a new look and he had the "You look stupid" chants.
Yes.
People were turning on him and he was getting go away heat.
Yeah.
In a way.
That's
the
when
mohawk,
he did the mohawk
with the beard, with the things, and people were like, "You look stupid." He was getting some go away heat there. And then the bar happened.
Yeah.
2016, was that after Mania 32 or around Mania 32?
20.
Right around that time.
Either 15 or 16. I forget when they got put together. Best forced tag team of all time, because they did that classic enemies who now become tag teams, and that's the best they've ever done. They had
7 matches against each other, didn't they?
Yeah, and then the final was you guys are going to team up.
Yep.
And then it worked.
And
they were one of the best tag teams of all time.
Dude, literally one of the best tag teams ever. I mean, that to me, their intro, the way they worked, they were so entertaining. That to me was when Sheamus became oh, okay, hold on a second. Do you think that Cesaro elevated him there? Do you think that him working with him so closely,
I think it's
another foreign strong man that can go in the ring kind of brought it out of him, and they had a great friendship too.
Oh yeah, I kind of think Cesaro might be the catalyst for the great Sheamus that we've had for this length of time that we've had him now.
Damn, almost a decade. Isn't that crazy to say? That shit all happened almost 10 years ago already. What the fuck, dude?
He's been with the company 15.
I was just bringing up...
He debuted in 09.
Kevin Owens and his tag teams over the years always result in hey, we're best friends. Hey, we're going to fight. and we, obviously with Sami Zayn,
Right.
Chris Jericho. That was 10 years ago. That was 20. Well, not 10 years ago, but it was like about 8-9 years ago where you had the list.
Yeah, Mania 33 was their match. 2017.
2017.
7 years ago.
Insane. Insane stuff.
You're old.
We are getting fucking old, brother.
You're old, man. I don't like that I look it more than you do.
Dude, I look old too.
You really don't.
Oh, stop it. Oh, stop it. The rest of the matches, solid. I like the emphasis on the king and the queen of the ring.
Yeah.
The women's matches were pretty good. Natty losing again.
Yeah, but I think that was kind of her place
thing
in the company now. She's that veteran that will give you a great match but elevates the younger talent.
She was going back and forth with Bully Ray today. Did you see that on Twitter?
Yes.
That was pretty funny. He's like, you and Piper are used to jobbing out, like whatever, and they were kind of having a little fun banter. They're old friends. I'm sure they get along well.
It also started because he wants a heel Natty. And you know what? I don't disagree with that.
Because she was like being nice.
Right.
And he was like, you're a heel.
Right.
She's like, you're an asshole. But yeah, cool. I really enjoyed Raw.
Same.
I think
it
was
good Raw.
I think it was a lot of fun.
How do you? I don't know how I feel about this. How do you feel about the fact that they're doing some of these King of the Ring events on live events? Like Kofi and Ray is now going to be a live event.
Yeah.
Allegedly, they're going to tape it and then show highlights of it on Raws and SmackDowns, but they're not going to show the whole match.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I'm the same way.
To be quite honest, I think that
I kind of like it because it helps elevate live events and makes them like, ooh, I got to go to this now. But at the same time, it's like live events aren't what they used to be. Your main product is TV, so why not make that the big thing?
maybe they want to make it less predictable.
That's possible too.
Like less like, well, this isn't on TV, so does Ray have to go over?
Right.
Could Kofi beat him? Type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not saying that's the exact situation, but like,
No, I get where you're coming from.
It could
I could see that being the case.
It could be something like that, and we know with all the changes that have been made over these last few months, especially since we've officially gotten this new Paul Levesque era.
Yep. Renaissance era, which shout out to you. I talked to Jimmy about that. Nice.
I feel like it's very possible that we get more of these random events happening, like these random, well, I mean, who was the last champion to win on a live event? Was it Samoa Joe when he won the NXT title?
I think, I forget who it was, but AJ and Kevin Owens swapped the U.S. title on a live event.
Okay,
once.
all right.
But I don't remember if that was before or after Samoa Joe.
Because I remember the Samoa Joe thing was in Lowell, Mass or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was somewhere in Massachusetts.
Not only was this is the craziest thing about that. Yeah, it was in Lowell, Mass at a live event, and he ended at the time the longest NXT championship reign of all time.
Yeah, so
they just had it at a random live event.
Vince must have had too many sleeping pills that day or something.
But to be fair, well, technically Triple H booked that. That was his era of NXT.
True.
And to be fair, they also did what I believe is still the shortest WWE title match of all time at a live event when Diesel beat Bob Backlund in 8 seconds. The last time the WWE title changed hands at a live event.
Damn, Diesel and Bob Backlund. To just hearing them wrestling each other is weird. But it's true. I remember Bob Backlund's little mid-90s run there. Yeah, so I've kind of lost my train of thought, but we did the little sidetrack there. But
yes. That's our bread and butter.
Are we expecting a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title between Bronson Reed, Chad Gable, and Sami Zayn?
Since it's been announced, yes.
It's been announced?
They announced it towards the end of last week, this past Monday's Raw, I believe. Unless
Are you sure they announced it?
Hallucinated and pictured a graphic, I'm almost positive they announced it.
I don't remember them announcing it.
I'm gonna have to look this up now because now I'm like, oh shit, did I accidentally take LSD on Monday?
Yeah, maybe you were high on some LSD or ayahuasca with Aaron Rodgers because I don't think they announced it. It like all the signs are pointing towards it. Like it's looking like Bronson Reed kind of after Zayn interfered with their match and kind of beat the shit out of Gable, and then Bronson Reed beats the shit out of both of them.
Right.
It looks like that's what they're setting up for, but I don't know if a match was officially announced. Because what would they announce it for?
2 title matches official for WWE King and Queen of the Ring. The Intercontinental and Women's World titles will be on the line.
When was this for? When is it for? Next
King and Queen of the Ring.
Oh, King and Queen of the Ring.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they did. I was right. They did announce it for King and Queen of the Ring. It'll be the triple threat: Sammy versus Bronson Reed versus Chad Gable. I did not take LSD.
There you go. You did not take LSD. Maybe I did. How I missed that, I don't know. But I was right in my prediction. That was the fastest confirmation of a prediction in the history of this podcast. Put some damn respect on my name.
You're a goddamn genius.
I am a genius. I am a savant. Okay, but I think that's going to be a good match. I was never really the biggest Bronson Reed guy, but I have been liking him in this IC feud since pre-Mania.
I agree.
I feel like he's been in some good runs here.
So I really liked him on NXT, and then they brought him up, and I felt like they dropped the ball with him. But I like what they're doing now, because now he feels like NXT Bronson Reed again.
Yeah, I agree. He's a monster.
Yeah.
He can. I mean, those three, that's going to be a banger.
That should be a great
That's going to be a fucking banger.
The only thing I hope this isn't where they change the title, because I want Chad to win it in a one-on-one clean match.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping Sammy pins Bronson, and this is a way you can continue the story without having to have Chad eat a loss, and then they do a one-on-one match, maybe a Clash at the Castle, or somewhere along the lines, and that's where Chad gets it. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen.
Could also see where it's the opposite.
I could see that too.
Where it's like, Bronson Reed, some fuckery happens, and one of them gets pinned.
Right.
And he wins the title. It's some dumb shit, or whatever.
Well, I don't think he's going to win the title.
No, I know, but I'm saying I could see some weird, if they want to take the title off of Sami Zayn and protect him where something happens, but maybe it's Chad Gable.
I do think Bronson Reed is taking the fall in some capacity. He's put in that match to eat the pin.
Yeah. Most likely. They're not ready to have either one of them get pinned yet.
Right. And I think Bronson Reed will put in a hell of a performance before he takes that pin.
Yeah. I'm looking up the SmackDown King and Queen of the Ring matches.
So the ones I remember, because I remember knowing who I hope wins each match, was AJ and Orton are going to face each other.
Yep.
And Baron Corbin and Carmelo Hayes are going to face each other.
Correct.
And then the winners of those matches will face each other in the second round.
Yes.
And I really hope it's AJ versus Melo. Because goddamn, sign me the fuck up for that match.
That would be an absolute banger. We also have LA Knight against Escobar and Lashley against Tonga.
Ooh, so Tonga's probably going to win. Because you're not going to want to have him lose this soon in his debut.
Damn, why would they have Lashley eat the pin, though?
Yeah, I agree.
Come on, man. Well, unless you get some bloodline interference, which is
that's
always
also possible.
Very
that
possible.
Could be where Jacob Fatu finally debuts.
It could be.
So that's possible.
This early, though? Well,
maybe.
When I say this early, I mean this close to having also the debut that they had last week as well.
Well, I mean, Tonga Loa debuted, 2 to 3 weeks after Tama Tonga debuted? Those weren't that far apart from each other.
True.
And we know Fatu's been signed. Like, that's allegedly we know he's been signed. And then the other rumor, which is weird to me, is they're waiting to debut him because they're afraid he's going to overshadow Solo Sikoa. They're afraid he's going to be the one that the fans really get behind when they want it to be Solo.
So they're like holding him back.
They're trying to hold him back till they build Solo up higher, is what the rumor I read. Who knows if that's actually true or not.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Actually, it does kind of make sense. Although Solo, man, shout out to him. He's another guy I've kind of turned around on because I was kind of annoyed with him, very forced. He felt very we are supposed to fear this guy. I get it. We get it. He's this big, strong man, mysterious, bot. He's a fucking machine. He only acts on what the high chief, the tribal chief says. But I think he's really coming to his own.
I agree. He needs to start getting some wins, though.
Agreed.
Because
on his own.
Yes, because besides Cena, that dude loses everything.
Everything. Or gets a lot of help.
Yeah. Although even that I don't mind as much as long as he actually wins. Because, Roman never really won clean. He always got help.
True. Very, very true. And that adds to the whole bloodline feud. I'm having a hard time pulling up the women's bracket, but...
You know what is crazy? I read somewhere that Cody versus AJ was the first time since Roman wrestled, I think it was Riddle, on an episode of SmackDown in 2022, that the WWE title match had a winner with no interference.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'll tell you all you need to know about the bloodline reign.
Yeah. Also, that there was probably only 4 matches in there.
True.
So,
yeah,
that's insane
that's a good
when
point.
You actually hear that, how long it had been.
Yeah, but when you think back on it, yeah.
Right, yeah.
It all adds up.
Right.
It all adds up. I'm having a hard time. I don't know
I don't know if they announced the women's
I don't think they've announced the Queen of the Ring because I'm looking. I don't see it anywhere. So unless it's, as we record this, it hasn't been announced.
Right. Yeah, I mean, by the time you're listening to this, SmackDown will be tonight or will have already happened. So you'll more than likely already know what the matches are.
Exactly. But man, it's been a fun couple weeks.
Yeah.
And then we get things confirmed, something that we've all been speculating on. WrestleMania is heading to the desert.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 41 in Vegas, baby.
Minnesota gets fucked again.
Minnesota gets fucked one more time. That ain't Gary Anderson walking through the tunnel. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, what a reference.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, that's solid. That's I don't know how many people. Hopefully most of you get that. But if not, look it up.
Look it up, baby. Just look it up.
A solid reference.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Flanabam. I think this is going to be awesome.
I agree.
I'm going to do everything in my power to be there. I'm about to be a father in 2 months.
Oh, that's going to be tough.
That's going to make my life a little bit more difficult trying to make its way to WrestleMania and convincing my wife that, babe, trust me, this is for work. Although it would be, technically.
It would be. But not only you're saying, I need to go to Mania, you're saying, I need to go to Vegas.
Yeah, I need to go
Babe, I need to go to Vegas.
Right. Big difference between driving to Philadelphia about, 4 hours away and flying out to Vegas and being in the desert with casinos and God only knows what else out there.
Prostitutes everywhere.
And we'll be hanging out with Alan and the boys.
That's right.
Stu.
One of us will get locked on the roof.
Flanabam will be on the roof, super sunburned. And
I'm Doug?
No.
You don't think I'm
Doug.
Zach Galifianakis?
No, I don't think you're Zach Galifianakis.
You don't think this is Zach Galifianakis?
No, you're Doug.
All right,
fair
enough.
You're the star. But I think that's going to be cool, and I think that it makes sense. And a pretty big detail. It's later in April.
Yeah, it's what 19th and 20th.
April 19th and 20th. We got a 420 WrestleMania in Vegas.
Oh man!
If you don't have Rob Van Dam and the return of Matt Riddle, you have failed.
And Snoop Dogg.
Oh, Snoop Dogg will be there.
Snoop Dogg absolutely has to be there on Sunday.
Snoop Dogg has his own college bowl game this year.
I know.
And he's going to be probably the host for night 2 of WrestleMania in Vegas next year because it's going to be on 420.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
You think they get Siegfried and Roy?
Didn't one of them die?
One of them got bit by a tiger. Maybe one of them did die.
I think one of them
got bit by a tiger.
Yeah, a tiger bit Siegfried and Roy.
Maybe you get the tiger.
That's like one of Jake the Snake's snakes just fucking chewing his neck off.
Which I'm sure it probably did at
happened,
one point.
Yeah, probably happened. But I'm excited. We got to try to get there.
I agree.
We got to try to get there.
That'd be dope to go.
I think that'd be fun. I think the spectacle itself would be incredible. I'm just curious if this deal happens if it's not for TKO.
Probably not.
Because you have the UFC connection and
they love Vegas.
They love Vegas.
If it's not for TKO, this is probably in Minnesota.
Probably because again, we go back to things that we've said in the past. Hotels were already blocking out the first weekend of April.
Right.
And we don't know what it was for, but we assumed that it was going to be for WrestleMania. The talk had been it was going to be in Minneapolis.
I mean, some city official, may have been the mayor, could have been the governor of Minnesota, I don't remember, was saying, we can't announce it yet, but we're expecting to make an announcement about an event coming here next year that's as big as the Super Bowl.
Is it still Jesse Ventura?
No, he hasn't been governor for a while.
Damn. I clearly don't know my Minnesota politics.
He can only be governor for 8 years.
Oh shit!
He was governor a lot longer.
Like 25 years ago, probably. The governor with Donald. I think they were around the same time, weren't they?
Yeah. I think Jesse was a little bit earlier.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm pumped for a Vegas and Mania. I think that's gonna be awesome.
I agree. I also really love the logo they put out.
Yeah, super cool.
That's a super dope logo. It's got the nice neon to it. I love the subtlety that they put 41 in the card. So, you got to look for it, but it's still there. I thought that was a really nice touch.
Yeah, you brought that up to me because I didn't catch that in first look. No, I didn't catch that. I'm not very attentive. I take, attention medication, if you guys know what those are. So
I sometimes overanalyze things.
No, that's not a bad thing, though. You pointed that out, and I think that's going to be sick. So shout out to a Vegas WrestleMania, baby.
You know what's going to be really interesting to see who they put in the Hall of Fame that year. Because they always try to at least have one person with the city connection. It'd be interesting to see who it would be for Vegas. Ken Shamrock?
Ken Shamrock, UFC.
They used to do a bunch of shows there. He signed a Legends deal because he's in the new video game.
That makes sense.
Could be Ken Shamrock. If he was still, not mentioned in the lawsuit, I think Brock Lesnar could have been a good
Who
pick for Vegas. But
who else was from Vegas?
Godfather's from Vegas, but he's already in. And no offense to God, I
There
love
was
me
a
some
recent-
Godfather, but he's not a headliner.
There was a more recent wrestler, also probably not a headliner. That was from Vegas.
Matt Riddle from Vegas?
Riddle?
You mentioned?
No. Was it Corbin? He's not going to the
No,
Hall
I
of
think
Fame.
he's from Arizona.
Okay, I know.
And
I
yeah,
feel like
he's not
there
going to
was
Hall of Fame
somebody
yet.
that was from Vegas that wrestled recently, but
Yeah, but they also, if they're like a recent wrestler, they might be not Hall of Fame ready yet.
true. No, that's what I mean. I'm not saying necessarily for the Hall of Fame, but I was just trying to think.
Somebody who could just even make an appearance.
Yeah.
That's true.
Flanabam, did I miss anything this week?
No, I don't think so. Well, I guess it depends on how semi-serious you want to get. We did have some NXT releases,
Oh, that's right.
which I'm intrigued. How do you feel about the fact that they're like spacing these out a lot more now and not just
All
all
at
right,
once.
here's 25 people released on this day.
I don't know how I feel about that. Does that give the people they're releasing their time to, I don't know, like, are they doing it by priority? Like, are they giving them these releases for them to get opportunities first by people who think they deserve it more? Or
Possibly, because it feels all the main roster people were first, and those were only like a couple days apart from each other. And then it was like 2 or 3 weeks later that they just did these NXT ones.
yeah,
So I don't know. It's interesting to. Part of me kind of likes it because it's letting people get some people that you know you're gonna release. It still lets them get like another month or two's paycheck out of it. So like it's kind of nice for them, but also at the same time it then delays their time for going to the indies and doing that stuff. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about it.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's a contractual thing, if it's something that like you have to get to this certain date before they can do it. With releases and contract stuff has never really been my forte. It's never been my specialty, if you will. But
That's way above my pay grade, and I'm doing this for free.
yeah,
So,
literally, we do this for free. So unless anybody wants to sponsor, maybe Corona this week.
these are delicious.
We're just gonna keep drinking
Unless
beers
you're not
until
paying us, then they're not that delicious.
yeah, they're not that good. Then I'll put a label right over it and
Yeah.
block it, and you'll never even know we drank them.
Right.
But yeah, fun week. We're excited for what's to come.
Yeah.
We're excited to have Flanny back.
Yes.
He should be back next week.
I hope you're enjoying yourself, my guy.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely just enjoy it.
Enjoy the honeymoon. Go crazy out there. Get a little drunk. Get a little silly for your podcast brother and your kayfabe cousin.
Maybe get arrested once.
Yeah,
Just
but
once.
like
Like a minor offense.
yeah. Maybe pissing in public.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what? Take it a little bit farther. Maybe you pooped in public.
Pooped in public.
I think
That-
you know what? Up the game a little bit.
Yeah, that's like at the beach, like where, like in the water.
Yes. Well,
Because that way you're still kind of like covered up, but like people can still know what's going on, and they call the cops and saying like this is offensive.
yeah, but you could be like, that wasn't me.
You can blame like a fish or something. Fish don't shit like us.
I mean, you could be like, oh, that just floated here. I don't know where that came from.
You're saying like somebody
Right,
else.
yeah,
out-
you're just saying like, I just floated by me.
I thought
don't
you
know.
were blaming some like marine.
No, yes, he's like
Animal.
An orca whale came
Yeah.
by, and that's its shit.
You ever
Right
seen a
there.
shark shit? Oh
You have
god.
now.
That's how you know this is our podcast. Everything is pro wrestling.
We talk about fish shit.
Fish shit. God. Flanabam, my brother. Awesome show with you. Excited to have Flanny back. Jimmy Korderas, thank you very much. Everybody else, make sure you continue to like, subscribe. The views have been great. The YouTube, I feel like people are enjoying the YouTube. They like the
Yeah.
visuals. So
I mean, this sex appeal. How can you not?
that's true. I asked Flanabam to do the podcast specifically with the YouTube in mind. I said, listen, I got to get eyes on this guy.
I get it.
Okay, I can't be hogging this all. I've known Flanabam for 25 years. I can't hog it all to myself.
That's fair.
I can't do it anymore. So yes, subscribe. Everything is Pro Wrestling Podcast on YouTube. Also, anywhere you get your podcast, tell your friends. We're gonna have more special guests coming up. A lot of fun events. We got some more things planned, especially when we get into the summertime. Weather gets nice. We'll be outside. And then yeah, that's it, man. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.